Ghost Pony Rider, by Mr. Houston. Chapter 1, Late Night Reading. The night was calm and peaceful, not a sound of a cricket, not the hooting of an owl, just silence. Twilight was sitting on her bed tossing and turning, worried. "Can't sleep," she said. Twilight got up, she slumped on her bed, the black lines under her eyes. With the thud of her hoops she stood up, and walked to the main room downstairs. Twilight looked to see Spike still asleep. He had the widest smile on his face. No doubt having another dream about Rarity. She then looked over her 4 bookcases full of books to read. She sighed. Twilight covered her eyes with a hoof and randomly placed a book. She lifted a book off the shelf. The dust and residue on the book symbolized that it had never been touched. Twilight blew on the book, blowing dust everywhere in a cloud. Myths and Legends of Equestria. Twilight gave the book a puzzled look, but through her curiosity, she found a disgusting surprise. Twilight opened the book, to see a spider the size of her eye on one of the pages. Its 8 green eyes meant purple as it let out a hiss. She gasped and dropped the book, killing the spider inside. She flicked the spider off, and started to read. To which she saw the title. Legend of the Ghost Pony Rider. Twilight rubbed her chin. Twilight was interested just by the title and began reading. The book's story told of a mystic being who was feared by many ponies, and was even feared by powerful villains. Twilight's wings brushed over her as she read on. Unnoticed to her, someone, or something was watching. Twilight was reading, when she heard a loud yawn. Spike came downstairs in a haze of drowsiness. Twilight. It's almost 3 in the morning, what are you doing up? Spike rubbed his eyes, and gave Twilight an annoyed look. Couldn't sleep, so I decided to read a bit to help, commented Twilight, rubbing the back of her head. Oh, alright, just don't be up too long. Yes, father, night, Spike. Twilight said, giving a snicker. Spike went back up to bed, dragging his tail behind him. Twilight continued reading the story, when she saw a black image on the other side of the page. Twilight paused. She turned the page, to see a gratis picture of a pony with nothing but a skull for a head, with it also on fire. It was dressed in what looked like centuries-dated cloak. The demonic being was using a whip-like weapon, and slicing a demon in half. She turned the page and gasped. Her eyes saw the being eating a pony's soul. Wow, he is scary, must have been feared in his times. Twilight closed the book. She had been reading for nearly a half hour now. She became sleepy, and passed out from reading the book. Then the door creaked open. A dark, slim figure crawled through the door. The eyes were glowing a maroon red. Its claws making no sound as it crawled on all 4s. The beast then noticed the pony sleeping on the floor next to it. It laughed in its throat as it approached Twilight. The being was shined in the moonlight through the window. The beast was an alpha timber wolf, looking for its next meal. Miles away, a being wearing the cape-like cloth was standing on top of a cliff looking over the town. Hopefully this place will accept me for who I am. A mysterious figure was standing on top of a cliff, looking over Ponyville. The being heard a scream and launched from the cliff, and ran as fast as lightning toward the screaming. A trail of fire glowed behind him with every clop of his hooves. Applejack was taking an evening walk, when she saw the blazing figure. Oh gosh, that feller's on fire, Applejack said with a wide-eyed look. She ran to her home, and got a pail of water. She saw the figure coming, and threw the water in the air. What should have been a loud splash, instead was a cloud of steam. Applejack watched as the figure continued running without even knowing. She said with a loud sigh, "That's it, no more night strolls." Chapter 2, Timber Wolf Attack. Moments ago, the alpha timber wolf crawled towards Twilight, drooling with hunger as he could smell her. His heavy breathing was a dead giveaway as Twilight quickly jumped, and let out a scream. She nearly dodged the huge beast, nearly catching her as she dove out of the way. Twilight backed up into a corner. She yelled at the beast. "Stay away from me," she cried. The creature came closer. It let out a bellowing growl. Its claws made of stone. It scraped the ground, making indent marks the size of rulers. Spike heard her scream, and ran downstairs, and saw the hulking behemoth. Spike yelled at the creature, trying to get its attention. "Hey, get away from her." The timber wolf then turned his head 180 degrees. Its red eyes faced Spike with anger. He stopped in his tracks with fear. Twilight yelled past the menacing wood wolf, trying to get Spike out of his daze. "Spike, get out of here." Spike was too scared to move. The timber wolf turned away and grabbed Twilight by the neck. It lifted her up and slammed her on the wall. The large wood wolf pulled closer to the magical horse, gripping her like a balloon. She couldn't breathe. The beast gripped tighter on her neck. Twilight started to lose consciousness. The wolf pulled Twilight closer, ready to clamp down on her head. Twilight managed to let out a breathy voice. "Someone, help." Spike snapped out of his daze and grabbed the beast by the leg. He bit the beast with all his might. The beast let out a howl and tried shacking Spike off his leg. The beast then slashed his claw across Spike's back. Spike gasped and let out a cry of pain. Blood dripped from Spike's back as he was thrown across the room, slamming into a bookshelf. The beast let out a massive roar and got back to what he was doing. A large sound was heard outside the house. The bellowing sound was like a monster groaning for food. The sound came closer, until it was like it was just outside the house. The sound stopped, silence grew in the house. The monster wolf looked around the room. Without another interruption, it turned to finish the job. Then, without a warning, a fiery chain came crashing through the wall, and it wrapped around the neck and arms of the mighty wood wolf. The wolf yelped in pain at the burning metal of the chain. The chain then jerked back, and it dragged the wolf outside, where sounds of a struggle could be heard. The wolf's eyes were glowing through the smoke with a scared look on his eyes. Another pair of eyes were spotted as they had angry look in them. The chain then sprung up from the dust. Its fire glowed through the dust. It came down hard. Pieces of the wolf scattered around everywhere, making a blender look like a duster. Twilight returned to consciousness and spotted Spike. She quickly galloped over to him. Twilight was bawling over Spike, who was knocked out. Twilight quickly went and wet a washcloth and cleaned Spike's back. She put a ear to Spike's chest, still breathing. Twilight gave a sign of relief. Then she remembered the huge hole on the side of their house. Chapter 3, Meet Ghost Pony Rider. Twilight slowly walked outside, and to her astonishment, a large stallion stood up in the corpse of the timber wolf, eating a blue mist coming from it. Its head emerging from the dust, an orange and red flame orientating from his head. The head was nothing but a skull, a unicorn's. His clothes were a leather jacket with pants. His hooves were nothing but bone. Same with its tail. The chain was wrapped around its chest, the tip coming out of his skull. His cutie mark was, of course, a skull that was on fire. Twilight glared in disbelief, seeing the demonic pony before them. The demonic pony looked around, seeing Twilight. He mailed a raspy sentence that sounded like he was a ghost with no energy. The ghost-like pony said in a confused state of mind. "Where am I?" he asked. His jawbone the only thing moving. Twilight didn't have words for what she was looking at. The mystic being walked towards Twilight, with every hoof that hit the ground, fire lit where it landed. Twilight glared at the side of the demonic stallion. Twilight asked in scared position, "Who are you?" The being leaned toward the wounded mare. He was much taller than Twilight, a foot taller at least. He used his chain, with great strength. He lifted her up, like she was nothing but a pencil. The being said in a friendly tone, and his skull smiled. "They call me Ghost Pony Rider." Twilight stuttered. She lifted the legend book with her horn's magic, and brought it toward her. She cycled the pages, while with the help of the stallion's light. Twilight stopped when she reached Ghost Rider's page. She was astounded. "Amazing. You're real, if you can call it that," he said, annoyed. "What do you mean?" Twilight questioned. Ghost Rider walked toward Twilight. Twilight was still giving him a astonished look, and still a little scared of him. Ghost Rider walked toward Twilight. She jerked to the side, trying not to get in the way of the fearsome-looking pony. Ghost Rider then sat on the floor. Twilight sat across from him. Ghost Rider then sighed. The tension in the room died a little. Ghost Rider then noticed Spike laying on the floor with her blanket over him. "Your friend's hurt," he said. Twilight didn't have time to answer as Ghost Rider carried him over to where he was. Twilight's nerves were skyrocketing now. "No, please. He's fine, he just needs some rest." Ghost Rider ignored her as his fire turned a light blue. Twilight watched with amazement as Ghost Rider placed a hoof on Spike's back. The wound that covered his back was slightly healed. It just looked like a nasty scratch now. Ghost Rider's fire returned to orange, and he put Spike in Twilight's arms like a newborn baby. "How did you?" Twilight asked, but was cut off. "Let's just say I'm not just slice and dice," Ghost Rider replied with a giggle. The tension in the room was gone. It felt normal again. Twilight broke the silence that was bugging her. "Sue, how did you get here?" Look." Ghost Rider then stared at Twilight with his blank, soulless eye sockets. Somehow, Twilight felt dread when she looked into those eye sockets. Ghost Rider then wrapped his chain around his hand. The chain then went up Ghost Rider's back and into his neck. The chain then cracked through his head where the hole was. I'll tell you. Chapter 4, Origins. Many years ago, I was an ordinary pony just like you. I always would make the right choices. I never made mistakes. I was a perfect soul. However, I didn't have one thing: friends to share my life with. Every day at school I'd see kids with their friends laughing, having fun. I was always alone. Never did anyone talk to me. They'd just say I would never have friends in my life, and that I should just disappear. Well, I tried multiple times to end it. I leaped off cliffs, only to land in water or bushes. I tried hanging, but the rope always broke, even before I jumped. Until one day, 2 bullies from the school jumped me outside the school. They kicked, punched, and taunted me. One of them pulled out a knife. Ghost Rider was in a gaze when talking the first minute. Ghost Pony Rider broke his gaze from Twilight and looked down at the floor. Then Twilight heard him sobbing. Tears of fire dripped from the demonic pony's eyes, lighting the floor where they dropped. She quickly put them out. Ghost Pony Rider wiped his face and continued. "One stabbed me, while the other held me up. It went on for 4 hours. I lost so much blood, I couldn't move." When they were done, they laughed and said. Ghost Rider's eyes glowed a fiery red. He growled with anger. His chain started glowing and levitating. Fire grew from his feet. Ghost Rider closed his eyes and took deep breaths. He looked up to see the alicorn staring at him with distress. Ghost Rider continued. "Never come back." Twilight could feel her heart break. "I tried to walk, but every step fell, like I could collapse from blood loss. I ventured for miles. Days turned to months, months into years. My fears of returning grew into anger. I wanted to go back and make those pay for what they did to me." "Did you go back?" Twilight asked. Twilight asked a question that made the room silent. Ghost Rider started to laugh. Twilight's curiosity turned into fear as she saw the demonic pony laughing, like she asked him the most stupidest question in the world, to which he knew the answer. "Of course I did," said Ghost Rider with a laugh to follow it. Twilight gasped as the pony laughed even harder. Twilight by this point didn't want the story to continue, knowing the outcome. The pony stopped as he saw the mare before him covering her face and sobbing with fear. Ghost Rider sat down and looked at the ground. I'm sorry. I can get a little carried away with my powers and how they affect me." Twilight gave her new friend a painful look and said, Yeah, I think." Each pony sat across from each other looking in another direction. Twilight looked up at the fiery skeleton before her. Ghost Rider then continued his story. "Anyways, eventually I stayed at it for a night. Then I met someone. He never said his name, but he said he could help with my problem, but for a cost, my soul. I immediately made the deal with him. I woke up hours later with my skin gone, nothing but bone. Fire was coming from my neck, swarming my head. Also my cutie mark was very, very different. I had a chain in my skull that was sticking out of it. Iniho, I could also run, like I was a Pegasus who just had an energy drink, leaving fire wherever I go. When I made to my town, everyone screamed at the sight of me. Mares grabbing our children and running away. Stallions running away like little girls. Those did not distract me from my goal though. I tracked down those that made my life hell. Once I found them, Ghost Rider snickered and laughed. I made sure they never walked again. I ripped their eyes out. I pulled their hearts from their throats. I shattered their bones. Ghost Rider shook his head. He then frowned and put his hoof over his neck. But was it worth it? The towns called me a monster. They never wanted me to show my face in public again. Then they started calling me names, throwing things, saying they'll kill me. I remember getting so angry, so intense, I just lost it and Ghost Rider was stopped by Twilight, who finished his sentence by saying, "You killed everyone." Ghost Rider nodded. Twilight felt a little uneasy and a bit scared. She didn't know what to say or do. Twilight wanted to change the subject. She thought for a few minutes before asking, "Well, I'm guessing that's how you got your name." Ghost Rider shook his head. "No, I got my name for saving citizens from the evil of the land. An old mare who I saved from a pack of timber wolves told stories about me the next day, while I was in a town called Liarsburg. She said I was a hero, and that all evil should beware. That is when I made a life, or short-term decision. I vowed to kill those who would spill innocent blood. However, I just want somewhere to call home." Twilight stared at the pony. She didn't want to believe someone from a town called Liarsburg could give him a name. She then smiled, and put her hoof on his shoulder. Ghost Rider looked up at her. Twilight said in a kind and loving tone, "Now you do." Ghost Rider gave a surprised look and said, "What, but, what if?" Twilight giggled and looked out the window. She said with a smile, "Come on, it won't be that bad." You sure?" Ghost Rider commented. "Yeah, I mean, what could go wrong?" Chapter 5, The Dream. Miles away, Queen Chrysalis stares outside to the dark forest. It had been nearly a year since she was defeated by Twilight and her friends at the wedding of Candace in shining armor. Ever since, she has been trying a plan to kill Twilight and her friends. Chrysalis growled and spoke to herself. "I need to find a way to get rid of that Twilight and her little friends, but how? I tried everything I could do. What else is there? It's not like it's going to knock me in the head." One of her shanglings came crashing in the throne room, smashing head-on into the ground. Chrysalis turned with a death stare. "What do you want?" "Well, speak up." The shangling stumbled up, and started at its queen. It then whispered in her ear a strange language. Chrysalis then smiled. "Excellent, he is real. I always knew he was real." Ha 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 ha. Back in Ponyville, Twilight makes room for Ghost Rider. The room may have been small, but it was home to Ghost Rider. The first home he had in years. Ghost Rider went in the small room and looked around. He shed a smile, and embraced his bed. Twilight saw this and laughed. "Like it? I had Spike make as best he could. I never thought you'd like it, to tell the truth." Ghost Rider laughed. He looked at Twilight and smiled. "Hey, I'm surprised your little guy woke up. I thought he would be out for the night." Twilight fluffed her wings, and went to a different room. Ghost Rider sat on the bed that was in the right-hand corner of the room. He looked around before his flame grew lower and lower. Even Shelly, his head was nothing but the skull. He laid back in the bed, and fell into a deep sleep. The dream he had, however, was not comforting. In his dream, Ghost Rider was running from the bullies that had tortured him through his childhood. The bullies cornered him. "What do you say, boys? Should we make this freak learn some respect?" The other bullies laughed and nodded. The young Ghost Rider had his hoops over his face, sobbing. One of the bullies then pulled a pocket knife from his pocket. The young Ghost Rider then grew in anger. His eyes grew in fire. He let out a roar, so mighty that it shook the ground. The young rider then drew a large chain from his horn. He was ready to kill every pony he saw, when he heard something. Stop. A large purple and black pony glided down to the young ponies. Her mane was like the constellations, her eyes were pure violet and black. The glass slippers and crown made it know she was royalty. It was Princess Luna. "Who are you?" Ghost Rider screamed. "I'm Princess Luna, I'm here to help you," she said in her best kind tone. "Help me." "How?" "By making you see what your purpose in life." Ghost Rider stopped. Those words sang to him like how his mother did. His eyes dimmed. He then looked up at the princess. "You can." "How?" Luna smiled. "Simple, by having you tested." The mystic pony then flashed her eyes a bright white. The young rider blacked out. He woke up in a dark alley, nothing but a street light to keep it lit. He then saw he was his older self. He heard a scream further down the alley, and ran toward it. A stallion was robbing a mare. "Give me your money," the mugger said, holding a knife to the mare. "Please. Please just stop." The stallion then kicked the mare and slammed her onto the ground. The stallion then got on top of the defenseless mare and started violating her. Ghost Rider sat there frozen, not knowing what to do. Luna then came behind him. "Well, what are you waiting for?" Ghost Rider saw the point drive home. He pulled his chain from his skull. "Save her." Ghost Rider swung his chain. Contact was made. The assaulting stallion disintegrated and turned into ash. Ghost Rider laughed as he saw his accomplishment. Luna, however, wasn't so happy. Ghost Rider looked back to see Hyaslo hit the mare. The chain had sliced her in half. She groaned in pain as she bleated out. "I didn't mean. Just as I suspected. Discord still did more to you than you know." "Who are you talking about?" Ghost Rider was stopped when he saw Luna was gone. He then saw a bright light. It covered him, knocking him out. Chapter 6: The Spirit Inside. Ghost Rider woke up in a frantic state of sweat and heavy breathing. He looked around his small room. Nothing but a tiny window in the corner of the room lit it. Ghost Rider tried to think why he had that dream. What was its purpose? Who was that other pony? Why did she say "I knew it"? These questions pondered his skull with a headache. Ghost Rider walked into the main library. Twilight must be out. Ghost Rider pondered through the room looking for something to do. He saw a bookshelf. He might as well do something productive. He lifted and put back tons of books. None of them looked interesting to him, except a book called Demonic Possession. The title alone was enough to get his attention. Ghost Rider filled through the pages until he noticed a page about a demon called Spirit of Vengeance. The Spirit of Vengeance was an angel who was casted down from heaven and was corrupted by the depths of hell. The angel, however, wanted to take revenge on those who casted him down. He then was offered a deal by a mystic being by the name Discord. Discord offered Vengeance a chance to live again. However, it was at a price. He would have to sell his soul to Discord as a price. Vengeance took the deal without hesitation. The powers were to be distributed to those who met with a terrible fate, such as death. That sounds awfully familiar. I need to find this Discord, he thought. Ghost Rider heard a sound outside. Shadows of unfamiliar ponies creaking opened the door. Ghost Rider jumped and clung to the ceiling. The figures walked inside. One was a baby blue Pegasus with rainbow mane and tail. The other was pure white fur and a perfect purple mane and tail, almost like a beauty queen. "Are you short while I didn't go to the castle for a while?" said Rarity, looking around the house. "I'm positive. If she wasn't, we would know," Rainbow Dash said with a smug tone. The two ponies walked through the house looking everywhere. Ghost Rider did not know these two. He considered them hostile. For now, "I guess she ain't here." "Indeed, well, might as well come back some other time, I suppose." The two walked out of the house as their chatter grew lighter and lighter. Ghost Rider jumped from the ceiling and landed. He lifted the same book and read on. When Discord was shielded in the stone prison again, all traces of the ghost pony rider was lost. Ghost Rider didn't know what to make of this information, but one goal: find Discord. Belly hunger sounds. Ghost Rider hadn't eaten for a long time. He wanted some food. Knowing he would have to go out into town and get the food himself, he grabbed his cloak from his bed. He opened the front door and took in the morning sunlight. The boarded-up hole in the wall stuck out like a sore thumb. Ghost Rider shrugged and proceeded into town. He stopped and saw a small little restaurant. He trotted over to the building. Ghost Rider felt something crash into him. He looked down to see an orange filly rubbing her head. "No!" she cried. Ghost Rider felt bad. "You okay, Squirt?" he asked. The orange filly gave Ghost Rider an angry look. He was confused why. "Listen, Buster. Not many calls me that except Rainbow Dash." Ghost Rider touched a nerve from the looks of it. Now he felt even worse. "What's going on here?" another voice said. Both ponies looked to see Rainbow Dash, crossed-armed, and not looking very pleased. Ghost Rider slouched his head and let out a groan. Then he was eye to eye with Rainbow Dash. She was giving him an intimidating look. He thought to himself, "Ooh, scary." He thought with a laugh. Ghost Rider tried to say something, but was cut off. It was going to be one of those days. "Listen, dude. I don't know who you think you are, but what's the big idea knocking over my friend? She said angry. Ghost Rider's temper was starting to flare. My idea? Maybe your friend should watch where she's going. Both Rainbow Dash and Ghost Rider were staring each other down, both looking as if they could swing at any minute. Then the shop owner came out the door. Hey you two. Not here. Take it somewhere else. Ghost Rider laughed and looked Rainbow Dash in the eye. Better get moving, he said. Rainbow Dash cussed under her breath. You got lucky, she said before walking with the orange filly in the opposite direction. Whatever, Ghost Rider said, continuing his walk to the shop. Chapter 7, Meet the Gang. Twilight returned from the unannounced trip a few hours later. Ghost Rider was reading more of the book. He was nearly done with it. Hey Rider. What are you doing? Twilight looked at her friend. Ghost Rider looked at her with an annoyed look. I'm playing chess. What do you think I'm doing? Ghost Rider's smartest remark. Twilight gave a slight smile, and walked further into the room. Ghost Rider closed the book, and turned to Twilight with a concerned look. 2 ponies came in here today looking for you. One was this attitude one, the other was like a drama queen. Twilight gave a wide smile and laughed. Those were my friends Rarity and Rainbow Dash. I guess they wanted to do something today. Twilight gave a pause, then thought of doing something that Ghost Rider would not like. I should introduce you to my friends. If Ghost Rider was drinking something, it would have spurted out of his nose. He went stiff as a board, and stared at Twilight with a baffled look on his face. That is a terrible idea. They'll flip if they see me, Ghost Rider said, worried. That is true, but hey, maybe. Twilight was stopped with a colorful array of ballons and streamers filled Twilight's house like a Christmas tree. Then a pink pony came from nowhere, and surprised Twilight and Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider took it a little too much. He whipped his chain in every direction. When he stopped, all the balloons were popped and the streamers were destroyed. Ghost Rider blushed with embarrassment. Pinkie Pie, however, didn't seem it at all. She just smiled and pulled out new balloons from a bag she had in a wagon. Pinkie Pie hung the balloons almost in every nook and cranny. Then 4 more ponies came through the door. The ponies gasped at the sight of the flaming pony before them. Ghost Rider tried to say hello, but the others screamed, and ran for the door. Twilight teleported in front of them. Hey, what's the rush? She asked. They all looked at her, like they would trample her trying to get out of the house. Twilight guided them to the library, where Ghost Rider had an unsurprised look on his face. It was getting ridiculous by this point for him. Twilight pushed the group of friends toward the being. She then walked in front and introduced Rider. Girls, meet my new friend, Ghost Pony Rider. Every pony, with fear in their eyes, didn't want to go near him. Twilight grunted and gave the group an angry look that could make the toughest of creatures back down from a fight. Knowing they wouldn't have any chance of leaving without saying at least hello, they each took their turns. Evening darling, my name is Rarity. Rarity gave a smile and quickly jerked away as the next pony gave introduction. Howdy, my name's Applejack, she said, trying not to share any fear. Hi, I'm Pinkie Pie. I like parties and everything in the world, Pinkie said, showing no fear at all. Ghost Rider for some reason felt a little scared around Pinkie Pie. Just the sense she was so happy gave him the chills. Ghost Rider then came face to face again with Rainbow Dash, who was more annoyed than last time. Ghost Rider the same. Twilight caught on to this. Same with the others. I'm guessing you two have met, she asked. You can say that, Rainbow Dash answered. Every pony gulped at the Speedy Pegasus comment. Both ponies were then separated before a real brawl was about to start. Ghost Rider then saw a lithe yellow and pink mane pony approach him with caution. If he had eyebrows still, one would be lifted. The light pony was hiding behind her mane, only showing an eye. I'm Flutter, Shy, nice to meet you, she said in a soft tone. The shy pony hid behind her mane, while looking at Ghost Rider, obviously scared of him. He couldn't blame her. It's very nice to meet you all. I'm Ghost Pony Rider, but I just go by Ghost Rider. The 4 ponies smiled, trying not to show fear at their new friend. Rainbow Dash gave an angry look at Ghost Rider. Say, where do you live? She said, smug. The question was a bit unwanted, and it made Ghost Rider stutter. Twilight gave a nasty look at Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash blushed with embarrassment, and flew behind the group. That is something he doesn't want to talk about, she snapped. Ghost Rider looked at Twilight with surprise. She then gave a deep breath, and turned to Ghost Rider. So, what do you want to do? Ghost Rider didn't know what to do. He couldn't think of anything these ponies would enjoy doing, anything he liked. He then saw Rainbow Dash. An idea came to mind. Ghost Rider walked toward Rainbow Dash, and let out a laugh. How about a race? He asked. Everyone looked at them with amazement. Anybody who challenges Rainbow Dash to a race is considered screwed by the start. Rainbow Dash smiled. Sure, why not? Both ponies gave each other an evil smile and bolted outside, the rest following. Both ponies were in front of the tree house. How about from here to Canterlot? First one to win gets bragging rights. Rainbow Dash points at a castle in the distance. Ghost Rider saw this as an easy task. He accepted. The two ponies lined up next to each other as the group watching them was cheering. Pinkie Pie got in front of the two ponies. Alrighty. First to Canterlot and back is the winner. Ready everybody? She asked. Both ponies nodded their heads. Pinkie pulled a white flag from God knows where. She flew it over her head, and got in the ready position. Both ponies got in a ready stance. Rainbow Dash's wings were wide out and ready. Ghost Rider's feet were blazing. Pinkie brought the flag down, and as soon as she did, a huge wind gust flew past her. Both ponies took off like bullets and the race was on. Rainbow Dash had an advantage, because of her flying, but Ghost Rider was no pushover. He was actually keeping pace with Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash pushed her wings harder, and she got some more speed. Ghost Rider noticed and galloped harder. Both ponies were going faster than anything in Equestria. In little of no time both ponies reached the castle, and began the long race back. Rainbow Dash, however, started feeling lightheaded. Her wings were slowing down, and she started lowering to the ground. Ghost Rider saw the falling Pegasus and quickly grabbed her in midair. She was fine, just tired. Ghost Rider wasn't even tired after his long run. He wasn't even tired. He put Rainbow Dash on his back and quickly ran back towards Ponyville. Chapter 8, Hero or Murderer. Days passed. Ghost Rider was starting to get bored staying inside Twilight's house. Ghost Rider looked outside, seeing everyone outside. The kids playing, ponies at work, others talking with friends. Ghost Rider missed those days of being a child, and going out the world. Then, he thought of an idea. Ghost Rider grabbed a cloak he found in closest. He slipped the cloak and proceeded to the door. He creaked the door open and placed his first step outside. The hooded pony looked around slowly, visualizing the area. Ghost Rider from the door and proceeded down the street. The colorful building on each side, the birds chirping, the ethical cheering. Wait, what? Ghost Rider came upon a group of people. They squeezed between ponies to get to the front. A race was going on. Contestants were lining up to begin the race. Ghost Rider then saw Applejack and Rainbow Dash. He whistled and got their attention. He waved to them. They waved back. An announcer came on a stage. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce the annual Ponyville race competition, said the announcer with please. The racers lined at the line. They got ready. Ready, set, go. The racers dashed off into a cloud of dust, leaving behind a crowd of cheering ponies. Ghost Rider laughed with enjoyment. Then he decided for some reason to follow his newfound friends into action. Ghost Rider walked until no one was able to see him. He removed his hood and proceeded. The orange and gold forest went for miles. Ghost Rider followed the trail until he stepped in something wet. He looked to see a puddle of red substance. The substance was warm and very thick. Blood. Someone's hurt. Ghost Rider looked everywhere. Bushes, ditches, streams, nothing. Until he heard a faint crying. The crying was soft, and not that loud. He pushed away a fallen tree limb to see a pony with a gash in her side. The gash looked as if it had been done, but a blunt object, or a tree limb. Ghost Rider flipped his hood to hide identity, and went to help the bleeding pony. The pony was up against a tree, holding her side, where the wound was. Dirt covered the wound and the body. She must have been there for nearly an hour. Hey, you okay? Ghost Rider asked. Huh? What? Who are you? The mayor replied. My name is I'm Johnny Blaze. Ghost Rider didn't dare to reveal his true identity. He wanted to help this mare without her screaming and being scared of him. Please stop, it hurts. Ghost Rider jerked away quickly. He didn't want to put the mare in any more pain and misery. Please, I'm only trying to help you. The mare looked at Ghost Rider with an uneasy look. She unwound her wound. It was like her club had hit a watermelon. The wound was dirty and bleeding pretty fast. It could get infected here soon. Ghost Rider had only one thought. I have to get her back to Ponyville. Without her permission, Ghost Rider slumped the wounded pony on his back. She was like a feather to him. Ghost Rider only heard groans as he ran as fast as he could, leaving a trail of fire with every step of his hooves. Ghost Rider then heard a whisper from the mare. I feel tired, said the pony, while she fluttered her eyes. Ghost Rider let out a mighty roar, and he was going faster than ever. He reached Ponyville in less than 3 minutes. He looked around and saw the hospital. Without hesitation, he ran toward the white building with tremendous speed. He reached the hospital. A nurse saw him. What's the trouble? Oh my gosh. The nurse saw the pale-skinned mare and laid her out on a table. Ghost Rider didn't say anything as more doctors arrived. They rushed the mare into the emergency room. Ghost Rider was asked to stay outside. Hours later, Twilight and her friends arrived at the hospital. They found Ghost Rider sitting in a chair almost lifeless. Rider, is she okay? Said Twilight with worried voice. Ghost Rider didn't move or say a word. Darling, is everything all right? Still nothing. Hey, wake up, Rainbow, Dash said, screaming at the already upset pony. Ghost Rider then turned his head slightly to the worried ponies before him. Ghost Rider then frowned and started at the ground. A doctor walked in. His face was something no pony should ever see. He walked over to Ghost Rider with a weird look in his eye. We tried our best, but she bled out before you got here. The infection from the dirt did the rest. Ghost Rider looked at the ground. The wide-eyed expression on his face was telling his friends he failed. Then Ghost Rider reached to rub his head when he noticed his hood was gone. Nothing but his skull and fire was showing. He gasped as the doctor had an angry look on his face. Ghost Rider then looked on his jacket. Bloodstains. Why kill an innocent pony? Ghost Rider looked at the doctor in shock. Why in the world would he have killed the pony? He was trying to save her. The doctor then walked to the door. He pushed a door button, revealing nearly a squad of cancel guards. The guards surrounded Ghost Rider. You're being placed under arrest for the murder of an innocent pony. Ghost Rider let out a gasp as his friends were pushed away from him as guards dogpiled him. They chained him in shackles, smacking him with gyro spears, taunting him. Ghost Rider never felt so scared since the bullies killed him. Ghost Rider then let out a ear-splitting roar and erupted the guards from him. He broke the chains like they were plastic. They then pulled out his chain from his horn. He gripped it with 2 hands. They pulled the chain from both ends, making it glow a light orange fire. He lashed the chain, slicing 5 guards in half. Their corpse then burned like wood and shattered. The rest of the guards looked at Ghost Rider in fear as he laughed demonically and devilish. They slashed again, killing another and another, until 2 guards remained. The guards held gyro spears up, hoping to defend themselves. Ghost Rider then gave a monocle smile as he lashed out again. The chain missed, but in return, slashed a guard's leg off. The blood sprayed like a water gun as the guard shrieked in pain. Ghost Rider about to finish the job, when he was shot by a magical blue beam. He was sent crashing into a wall, leaving a dent the sizes of a gate. Ghost Rider then knelt on the ground. He couldn't move. He was paralyzed. He looked to see Princess Luna looking over him. Twilight and her friends burst in front of the magic alicorn. Wait. Please. Don't kill him. Twilight yelled. Yeah, he didn't mean it, right? Applejack said, looking over Ghost Rider. They all looked at the blood-soaked demonic pony. He was huffing and puffing with no time of quitting. I'm sorry, Twilight, but he must be dealt with, Luna said. What if you just locked him up in the dungeon? Luna gave a pause. She never has seen the side of Twilight before. Standing up for an accused murderer, Luna backed down and ordered the guards to cuff Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider then passed out onto the floor. Chapter 9, Found You. Ghost Rider awoke from his unconsciousness in a daze. He looked around. He was in a dark room with nothing but his flame keeping it lit. Ghost Rider tried to move his hands, but to find them chained to a wall. His arms were lifted up and restrained on the wall. He didn't struggle much, because of his drowsiness. The room was full of nothing but spider webs and dust. The window was nothing but a set of bars with an open window. The moonlight was shining through, making an arched shape on the cell's floor. Rats ran by in a rush. Ghost Rider then noticed someone standing before him. It was Luna. She was giving him a disappointed-like look. "What were you thinking? Killing an innocent pony, and for what? To win a race." "I didn't kill her," said Ghost Rider, shaking his head. "Bullshit. You had that look in your eye the moment I saw you for the first time." Ghost Rider dropped his head in frustration. This is the first time in his life he had been accused of a crime. "Well, maybe not the first time. I'm telling you I didn't kill her. I was trying to save her." Luna put her hoof to her face and squinted. She was obviously angry and frustrated. Ghost Rider didn't want to push that any more than it was. Ghost Rider let out a puff of breath and continued. "Luna, believe me when I say, I didn't commit any crime, goddammit. You watch your tongue, or I'll." Luna was stopped by Ghost Rider taunting her. "You'll what? Cut it out. In case you haven't noticed, I don't have one." Luna charged her horn ray and shot Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider slouched and let out a pain-filled groan. "Behave yourself, demon. I'm not the one to judge where you go." "Who does then?" "You want lawyers. Those guys are only good for kissing ass to you and your sister." Luna paused. How did he know she had a sister? Luna then walked to the staircase leading out of the dungeon. She stopped to say one last thing. "A hearing will be held tomorrow at noon, then your fate will be decided." Luna then left the dark dungeon, leaving an already pissed off demon pony. Ghost Rider sat there in the cold, dark dungeon with only the moon as company. He looked at the white orb in the sky and thought to himself, Why have this happened to me? When I only wanted to help someone, I'm punished for it. Why must I ender this torture? Why must I live?" Ghost Rider heard the door of the staircase creak open. The footsteps were like big feet stomping in a pile of mud. They got louder until a tall, thin, weird-looking creature appeared in the doorframe. "Bah! You're here. I was wondering when you would show," a mysterious voice said, coming from the dark stairs. "Huh? Who are you?" A freaky-looking creature that looked like it had been thrown in a blender stepped from the shadows. He had multiple body parts from different animals. His voice was toned like an Englishman but more raspier. Ghost Rider had finally found him. "I say, you're in a bit of a pickle." A Discord gave a laugh as he saw his creation before him. You dare show your face to Emmy, you bastard. Do you know what kind of hell you put Emmy through?" "Oh yes. I'm very aware. I came here to say I'm sorry." "Then you had the audacity to, wait, what?" Ghost Rider gave the Lord of Chos a confused look. The things he wanted to say to him for making his life the worst, for making him a monster, then he just says sorry. "You're serious?" "Very sorry, my friend. That was when I was evil and nasty. Now I've reformed, and I help my friends down in Ponyville." Discord gave a gentle smile, and sat in the chair near the cage. "You look a bit tired, old chap. Need help?" Ghost Rider couldn't believe his ears. The Lord of Chos, wanting to help him. Just rating it, Ghost Rider nodded. Discord waved his hand, the shackles unlatched, and released Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider stretched from being hung for Celeste knows how long. Iniho, Ghost Rider looked at his practical friend. "So, what happens now?" Ghost Rider rubbed his wrists. "Easy, you go free," replied Discord. "What? Why?" "Because you're innocent in the murder case. I have proof." Discord showed Ghost Rider a magic globe which had a scene playing in it. The mare from before was running when a large bug-like creature tackled her and hit her with some sort of club. The struggle was hard to watch. Ghost Rider was angry that he didn't feel the blood that was being spilled. The bug-like creature then flew away, leaving the mare to bleed out. The mare then struggled to walk. She tripped and rolled into the ditch, where he found her. Ghost Rider was surprised by this evidence. "This is great. I can use this in the trail tomorrow." Discord jerked away the globe with a concerned look on his face. I can't show it. Discord hid the ball behind him, while shuffling his feet. Ghost Rider stood up, his flame grew bigger with anger. He gripped the bars making them glow orange. Why the hell not? I need this to prove my innocence. I'm sorry. I need to show this afterwards. That is how the trails work. Ghost Rider let go of the bars and backed up. He looked to see the sun rising. The conversation must took more time than expected. He looked back to see Discord gone, and the evidence. Princess Luna came in with some guards. How did you get out of your restraints? She said upset. I asked nicely. How do you think I got out? Ghost Rider turned and slumped on the wall. Luna ordered the guards to restrain Ghost Rider. The guards put heat-resistant shackles on this time. Ready for Judgment Day. Ghost Rider nodded. Luna lifted her head at the guards signaling to move Ghost Rider. They escort Ghost Rider to a large area outside where it looked like thousands of ponies were seated on each side. All of them whining and yelling insults and threats. Luna, Celestia, and Twilight all stood up on a balcony looking over the accused killer. The trail begins. Chapter 10, The Trial. Ghost Rider was put on a roundish stone. They just pull on each end. The guards shackled him in and were dismissed. The huge stands full of ponies silenced. Princess Celestia was greeted by the sound of horns. Ponies cheered as they saw the three princesses emerge from the balcony door. Celestia then held up a cane and slammed it on the ground. Every pony got quiet and awaited the princess's speech. I now call this trail to order. Luna gave Ghost Rider a nasty look and locked eyes with him. Ghost Pony Rider, you are accused of the murder of an innocent pony. Multiple ponies put in the crowd. Ghost Rider looked around the open area seeing the ponies booing and insulting him. Have you got anything to show as evidence you are innocent? Ghost Rider remembered the evidence Discord showed him. Not until after the trial is over. Ghost Rider bowed his head in frustration. Ghost Rider was a bit uncomfortable. However, he had never been out in the sun before. He had always been found an abandoned house or cave to spend the day in. The night was his comfort suite. No, I do not. That does not mean I'm not innocent though. Really? When you brought the pony to the hospital you had bloodstains on your jacket. Celestia said with anger. Plus, multiple civilians said they heard screaming then you ran out of the forest with her. Luna added. Twilight remained silent. She did not want to condone on her friend. When Celestia looked at Twilight, to signal her it's her turn, Twilight signed and proceeded to the front. Ghost Rider, punishment of murder here any question is punishable by death. Twilight said with hesitation. Everyone was shocked to start hearing Ghost Rider laughing. Really? Seems a bit dark in a land where everybody is a mouse about even the word death. Ponies in the crowd gasped with shock, same with Celestia and Luna. You're out of order, Rider. Luna said. Ghost Rider laughed. Look, even if you wanted to kill me, I would kill dozens of more guards to take down with me. Plus, how do you expect to kill something that's already dead? Silence filled the ring. No pony thought of it before. Then Discord out of nowhere appeared and said something Ghost Rider wanted to kill him over. Technically, you're not dead. You're just someone possessed by a demon. You can still die. Ghost Rider cursed so horrifically that parents in the crowd covered their kids' ears. Even Luna and Celestia blushed at the vulgar being said. Ghost then heard heavy footsteps come from the hole he came from. They got louder and louder. Guards then flooded the open area. They surrounded the demonic pony. In the middle came a commander of the regiment. Oh yeah? How about we do it here and now? All guards drew gyro swords. What's the meaning of this? Why are you here, Commander? Celestia said. Easy, finishing with you. Uck. The commander was stopped by a sudden burst of pain in her front. Ghost Rider had used his chain as a spear, plunging it in her heart. The other guards watched in terror as the commander fell in a lifeless state, her blood draining faster than a water main break. Ghost Rider pulled his chain from the dead mare's chest. He looked to the other guards with a smile. See, told you. Anyone else? The guards shook their heads and backed up slowly from their commander's murderer. Ghost Rider then looked up at Celestia and the others. Listen, I didn't kill that girl you accused of me murdering, but I did kill this one out of self-defense. Listen, I promised I wasn't going to say anything, but Discord is evidence I'm innocent. Everyone, even Celestia, gasped in shock. Then Discord appeared with a sad look on his face. I told you evidence was accepted when the trial was over. Discord, what do you know? Celestia gave Discord an angry look. Now you dumbass. Tell them before I rip your throat out, Ghost Rider yelled with intensity in his voice. Everyone looked at Ghost Rider, seeing he was getting angry. To avoid getting him more angry, Discord showed the evidence to Celestia. When they saw the bug-like creature, Celestia, Luna, and Twilight looked at each other. Changeling gasped in horror as they saw the Changeling kill the mayor. Everyone screamed with fright. Celestia raised her hoops to calm everyone. Once as they were calm, Celestia looked to address Ghost Rider, only to see him walking away. Where are you going? The trial is not over. Ghost Rider was trying his best to ignore her. Speak when spoken to, you die respectful. Ghost Rider swung his massive chain, almost hitting the princesses. They looked to see an evil, angry look in his eye. You know what? I'm tired of ponies being hateful or afraid of me just for trying to save them. For once in my life I had place to live, now it's happening again. Speak to Emmy again, and I won't miss next time. Ghost Rider then ran off into the forest. Everyone looked at each other, thinking what he said. Even Celestia and Luna were ashamed of their actions. They should have gave him a chance to explain himself. All they could do is honor his wish to be left alone. Ghost Rider didn't think about his choice to spout of, cause he was in a dark forest, late at night, alone. He noticed a small cave. He ducked under it to sleep for the night. Then a bear came and roared in his face. Ghost Rider shrugged and slashed the bear with his chain. The bear fell back. Ghost Rider then laid his head down. He wanted to forget this day, this week, his entire life in an instant. Since that wasn't going to happen, he started at the stars. Why must I end over this? Why me? Damn it, why me? He heard a sound. He turned to see an unknown pony walking towards him. Ghost Rider perked up and got in battle posture. The pony then stopped in front of him without hesitation. The pony was wearing a brown cloak. Her face was covered with the hood. The rest wasn't. Her fur was black with a touch of brown to it. Her eyes were as wide as the sun. Her voice was just like Ghost Rider's, but in a female voice. Do not be afraid, I'm not here to hurt you. What? Why are you here then? Please calm yourself, my name is Maribel Firestride. Okay, what do you want? Same thing you want, a chance in this world. Ghost Rider became more calm. She stood up straight and looked at his company. Just like you, I was a rider, but my time has gone. Now I'm just a lone spirit, wandering lands helping anyone without something in return. They don't scream or throw things at you. No, because I never show my face. I always keep it hidden. You on the other hand aren't afraid to show your face in public. Oh, saw that, did you? Ghost Rider's face blushed. Maribel laughed. Indeed, I found it quite funny you lost your hood. Well, Rider's face grew even more red. Ghost Rider never felt this way before, never since he was a child. Could it be he has met a true friend? Or maybe, more than that. That spot taken. No. Please sit. Ghost Rider scooted to the right, letting the mare sit next to him. The two gazed at the stars, witnessing the multicolored sky and stars. The stars glowed as bright as diamonds. The moon's shine engulfed the cave. So, when did you get your powers? Maribel shined the rider a smile. Chapter 11, Ghost Rider's Match. The next morning, Ghost Rider was sleeping in the cave he spent the night. He also saw the Maribel sleeping next to him. He got up and walked into the forest. His first instinct was, find water. Ghost Rider didn't know the forest, so he decided to go in a random direction. River's not that way. She pointed northeast. Ghost Rider turned to see the sleeping mare waking up, rubbing her eyes. As she stretched, her hooves slipped, and shot a white-skulled unicorn with, not orange and red flame, but a blue flame. She quickly grabbed her hood, and put it back on. Ghost Rider couldn't help but ask, why is your flame blue? Is that for girls only? No, silly, because I lost my title as the rider. The spirit of vengeance left me. Now I only feel justice. Wait, it left you? Ghost Rider leaned into Maribel's face. Correct. Marable backed Ghost Rider back. How do I get rid of it? Marable gasped and looked shocked at Ghost Rider, like he asked her an embarrassing question. Marable eyed the ground and gulped. You have to die. Marable then ducked her head. Ghost Rider pulled back his head and gobbled. Who knew the only thing to take his title meant he had to die for it, literally? That's a bit extreme, don't ya think? I mean, I've heard ponies saying I'd die to be free, but this is ridiculous. It's the only way the spirit will leave you be. Ghost Rider thought for a minute. He had a choice here: kill yourself to be free, or stave the spirit of vengeance. Say, where's that pond? Ghost Rider marched in the western direction. Ghost Rider trotted in a direction. He decided he'll get it taken care of later, but for now, it's strictly to survive. The two ponies came upon a large blue pond. The sound of the lake against the rocks was so soothing, you could have a picnic there. Ghost Rider got his hoops together and drank a big palmful of water. Marable did the same. The two then noticed fish swimming in the lake. Breakfast. Maybe I should. Marable was stopped by Ghost Rider putting his hoof in front of her. I'll take care of it. Don't want your cloak to get ruined. Oh yes. Mr. Macho Demon, come on then. Fish us some breakfast. Marable crossed her arms and snickered. Ghost Rider snorted flames from his nose. He jumped in, creating a huge cloud of steam. He rose from the pond with his flame still lit. He swam around until he saw a fish. He got his chain, making a spear weapon. One by one, fish came from the pond. Later that day, Marable gathered wood. Ghost Rider avoided it, being the fact he would burst the trees into fire. Marable laid the firewood in a pile. Say, how can you touch those things without bursting into fire? Marable giggled and unfolded a cloth from her hand. Still a skeleton hand with blue fire. She then raveled her hoof and touched the wood. Nothing. When the bone touches something, it lits. Otherwise it's okay. The fire was lit, fish was cooked, bellies were full. The two sat on a log on the ground looking at the flame. The warmth of the fire was great considering fall had started. Ghost Rider turned to his newfound friend. So tell me, how did you get your powers? Marable sighed like she has told this story so many times it was becoming repetitive. Years ago, my family wasn't the richest family on the land. Mother and father had to work in fields for hours. My brother and I weren't allowed, because of our age. Our lives were owned by a stallion by the name Mayor Frostfall. She had a heart as cold as ice, pun not intended. She never gave anyone happiness. All she did was cause pain. One day, my family was working when she and her thugs arrived. She demanded we would pay her the monthly rent. My father then said we barely had enough. She didn't like hearing that, because she ordered her thugs to beat my father and Mama. They made me and brother watch. Marable started to have a sobbing tone in her voice as she continued. One of the thugs took a liking in me. He grabbed me, but my brother kicked him in the leg. My father told both of us to run. We did. Then my father jumped and hit the other thug holding my mama. Me and my brother were running when we heard a gunshot. We turned to see the mayor shoot my dad. She then shot my mama. With tears in our eyes we. Marable couldn't continue before sobbing in Ghost Rider's chest. Ghost Rider then put his arms around her. Ghost Rider didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to say. All he could do was remain silent. Marable came from out of his chest with tears in her eyes. Ghost Rider stroked her back, trying to comfort her. I'm sorry. Marable ducked her head in Ghost Rider's jacket like it was a pillow. You have nothing to be sorry for. Marable shook her head and continued. My brother and I ended up in small town near the farm. We asked people if we could stay. No one allowed us. Said we were vermin, and that we should go away and never come back. My brother and I, however, didn't give up. We found an ally to live in. It was the only place we could stay. Days turned into months, months into years. Time went by, and we cleared things off the streets to survive. Steal, sell, eat, repeat, that was our motto. We were arrested a couple times. It was worth it. How does this tie to your powers though? Ghost Rider was becoming anxious. I was just getting to that. One day, a group of thugs ambushed us. One grabbed me, another grabbed my brother. They said were going to keep me as a slave, and they were going to kill my brother. I struggled so much to try and save him. One thug got tired of, and hit me with a ratchet. I could feel my skull break, and blood spill out as I collapsed. All I could hear was mobiling. Then I heard a gunshot, and my brother fell in front of me with his lifeless eyes. Then I pass out, only to awoke with blood everywhere and me standing up, covered in it. I looked at myself in a puddle, I screamed. I then saw the bodies, the mangled, torn, eviscerated. She started crying again. Ghost Rider then rubbed her back again. You don't need to continue. Thank you for letting me share this information with your rider. No. Ghost Rider was taken off guard by the mayor he just met yesterday, christening him. Again he didn't know how to react. Maribel then broke off with a surprised look in her eye. She stuttered. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Maribel blushed. Yeah, no problem. Maribel, listen Rider, I appreciate you listening to my story. Ghost Rider, same with you listening to mine. I guess we'll depart tomorrow. Who says it has to be tomorrow? Why not for a while? The two ponies looked at each other again, this time with a smile. Chapter 12, Attack on Ponyville. It was early morning. The sun had just risen from over the mountains with its orange and purple lights surrounding the sky and sun. Twilight was at the castle, overseeing it while the princesses were out for business. Twilight walked out of bed in pure frustration. She walked to the window. The glow of the moon on the mountains gave a shadow. She grunted to herself. Oh Rider, where are you? If only they would have listened to you sooner. Twilight dropped her gaze at the window, and walked around the room. Celestia and Luna agreed with Ghost Rider's warning and didn't pursue him. Twilight had never seen such anger in a pony before. The red in his eyes, his chain, surging with fire. Twilight was thinking about getting her friends, and going to find him herself. However, she was wondering if Ghost Rider would keep his word, and kill her too. She didn't want to risk her friends and certainly not the rest of the castle. Twilight mumbled to herself. What do I do? Do I risk to kill my friends? Or myself? Twilight then nodded her head, and made a gesture. Twilight gathered most of her stuff into a backpack, and opened the door, but before, she heard a sound. A faint buzzing sound, something like a bug. Twilight ran to the window, to see an entire black cloud of changelings in the sky. They came over the mountain in a huge black cloud, almost forming an entire creature in the sky. Twilight said to herself. No. Twilight ran onto a balcony that was located on the same level. The fierce swarm engulfed the castle, but, strangely, the bugs didn't attack the castle. Instead they were heading for Ponyville. The people in Ponyville were soundly asleep in their dreamlands. Soundless asleep, nothing to disturb them. Well, almost. Rainbow Dash was sound asleep in her bed when she heard the buzzing. What's that buzzing? Did I leave the stove on again? Rainbow Dash rubbed her eyes. Jokes aside, Rainbow Dash walked to window rubbing her eye. When she saw the enormous swarm, she screamed. Holy crap! Rainbow rushed out of their house to warn everybody. She flew to the center of town seeing some ponies awake. She tried knock on other doors to warn them, but no answer. Rainbow Dash had only one thing to do. She screamed at the top of her lungs. Hey, wake up. There's a huge cloud of bugs heading towards Ponyville. The message was then said. Tons of ponies came from inside their homes in a flock of confusing. I'll look to the sky, to see the enormous cloud. In a matter of moments, the village came under attack. Changelings gripped the houses, and started destroying them. Changelings ripped through the roofs, smashing down walls, hurting innocent. Twilight saw the destruction from the castle, and was shocked beyond belief. How could this? Who could Chrysalis? Twilight then turned to see the bug pony in her presence. Chrysalis laughed monically, and a horde of changelings came behind her. What do you want, Chrysalis? Easy, the demon. Who are talking? You want Ghost Rider, don't you? Twilight gave a ready stance to brawl. Yes, where should I find him? I'm not telling you. Chrysalis frowned and commanded one of her changelings to attack Twilight. The changeling grabbed Twilight, and locked her against the wall. Other changelings soon joined in. They held Twilight against the wall with extreme force, making her almost choke. Get off me. The changelings didn't grip and choke her even worse. Chrysalis then walked slowly to the pinned alicorn. She drew a knife-like weapon from her back. She then drove it into Twilight's stomach. She screamed with vigorous pain, letting the whole council know of it. However, no one came to see the trouble. It was like they all abandoned the place. Please, why are you doing this? Easy, I want to kill you, and your friends for fouling my plans, and now I'm going to finish you. A large chain came charging from the shadows, and grabbed all the chainlings. The chains burned the changelings into ash. The chains retract, and wrapped around the hands of two supernatural ponies who are about to kick some ass. Chapter 13, Death of a Witch. Chrysalis laughed at the sight of Ghost Rider and his friend. Twilight, however, was not laughing. The knife was lodged in her side and bleeding rapidly. Ghost Rider saw this and growled, trying to intimidate Chrysalis to let Twilight go. However, she just responded with an insult. Growling won't help you save your friend Rider, it will only make it worse. Don't make this hard, bug, we only want the princess. Don't call me a bug. Chrysalis snapped with anger in her voice. It appears Maribel had hit a sour note on Chrysalis. Chrysalis growled in anger. She called more changelings to come and kill. The changelings made a black cylinder around the two demons. Ghost Rider laughed. This was pathetic to him, knowing how weak the changelings were. Changelings came from the cloud, and rushed Ghost Rider and Maribel. Ghost Rider smiled, and stepped to the side, tripping the changelings, having them trip into each other. The changelings rolled into a ball, and smalled against the wall. More changelings followed, only to suffer a more gruesome death. Ghost Rider charged his chain with fire, as he spun around like a top, and with that spin, a ring of fire formed, burning the other changelings into ash. Maribel lifted her hoof to only catch a burning spark. She and Ghost Rider looked at each other and smiled. Chrysalis drew an angry look, and summoned another sharp weapon from her horn this time. She roared a mighty battle cry, and charged the two. Ghost Rider and Maribel dogged, causing Chrysalis to slam into a wall. The two rushed over to Twilight. Maribel pulled out the dagger, causing Twilight to shriek in pain. Ghost Rider bit his hoof and worried. How bad is it? Twilight pinched the wound. Not too bad, but the blood loss is tremendous. You're lucky to be alive, Your Highness. And if you don't mind me asking, who are you? My name is Maribel. I'm a friend of Ghost Rider. Twilight nodded and let Maribel try to help her. Ghost Rider then noticed Chrysalis charging them again. Ghost Rider stiffened his chain with both his hands. He made as stiff as a board. The two weapons clashed in a loud metallic clash. The two beings struggle, shoving one another in a different direction. What do you want anyway, you witch? Ghost Rider growled. You. Ghost Rider and every pony stopped and stared. That was something no pony wanted to hear. Ghost Rider especially was confused. Why? Because I would have wanted you to be my personal servant. Your servant? Fat fucking chance, Ghost Rider laughed. Now, you don't want your friend, and special friend, to say goodbye to you. What are you in about? Ghost Rider backed down. Chrysalis then laughed and clapped her hoofs, and two evil and very scary looking changelings appeared out of nowhere. They looked very different from the others. Their eyes were red with a much lighter skin. Their wings were also red but much more broken. They however had no mouth or nose. Both creatures held up swords to Twilight and Maribel's throats. Ghost Rider got his chain, but he stopped and froze. Don't hurt them, Ghost Rider said in a scared voice. Swear your allegiance to me, and they won't be hurt. Ghost Rider looked back at his friends. He saw the fear in their eyes. He didn't have a choice. Ghost Rider dropped his chain, and raised his hoofs. Ghost Rider groaned. You win. Chrysalis laughed and walked toward our new servant. Now that you've sworn your allegiance, nothing will stop me. Rider, no. Both Twilight and Maribel gasped as Chrysalis left. Chrysalis then ordered her changelings to release the two. She then turned to Twilight with a satisfied look. I want you to remember this date while light sparkle. Remember it like you did him. You witch. You'll rip your heart out and eat it. Chrysalis left. Maribel then gave a frustrated look. Like you have the spine to do so. Chrysalis then let out a howling scream as she could see a fiery hoof rammed through her abdomen. She turned to see Ghost Rider with a wide smirk. He whispered in her ear. She may not, but I do. Maribel then gave a look of surprise. Her and Twilight were smiling. Chrysalis then collapsed to the ground, dead. All the changelings in town then stopped their attack and disbanded. Twilight and Marable nearly trampled Ghost Rider when they tackled him. All of Twilight's friends came in from the front entrance, seeing the carnage. What happened? Flutter, she said, covering her mouth. Ghost Rider saved us. Twilight replied. He did? Rarity asked. He killed Chrysalis, Twilight said, looking at the changeling queen's corpse. What? All the ponies gasped in horror. All gasped in horror at the sight. Everyone didn't know what to think of the incident. She's gone for good, said Applejack with fury in her voice. Got that right, agreed Rainbow Dash. What should we do now? Asked Pinkie Pie. Twilight wiped her eyes and faced her friends. She then looked at Ghost Rider and Marable. First, we go home, then party. Yeah. All ponies shouted in battle cry as they all galloped out the fortress. Back in Canterlot, all the ponies came through the front entrance, but to be greeted by a crowd of armored guards. All the guards saw Ghost Rider behind them. One saw her then cries out, "Halt!" Celestia, trailed by Luna, comes through the group of guards. She gives Ghost Rider a stern look. You have a lot of nerve coming back, she said, annoyed. Ghost Rider saw this as a time to make a joke. Nerve? No. Guts? Yes. Celestia, on the other hand, didn't appreciate it. Ghost Rider noticed this, and became annoyed himself. Look, Ms. Ruffas, I just took down the culprit responsible for the murder. Celestia didn't enjoy the insult, but she was intrigued about the suspect. I know it was Chrysalis. I was just about to send a group of guards to come drag her in, but somebody beat me to it. Celestia then pulls a long green horn from her back. She gives Ghost Rider an unimpressed look. What? He said with a smile. You could at least left her alive. Chapter 14. The end of it. Days later, Twilight was resting inside her house writing a weekly report for the princess. She hadn't heard from Ryder or Marable for a while. She thought they were on some sort of mission. She looked outside her window to see an orange trail of flames heading out of the city toward Muddins. Twilight smiled as she saw her now dear friend disappear over the hill. Ghost Rider had decided to do something he hadn't done in years. With Marable close behind him, Ghost Rider galloped over the dirt road he was running on. The wind of the valley made him feel fantastic. He hadn't felt this way in years. He felt happy. Both riders then stopped on the hill. Marable coming in huffing a little. Ghost Rider laughed. Losing your edge, dear? He asked. Marable gave him a smirk and slugged him on the arm. She took a minute to collect herself before speaking. You wish. Both riders noticed the small town over the hill they were on. Marable saw Ghost Rider's nervous look. You don't have to do this, you know, she said with care. Yes, I do, he replied. He then takes off, leaving Marable behind to watch. Ghost Rider gallops into the town and he sees the town name on a sign. Liar's Burgertreed. Ghost Rider trots further. He stops in front of a house. He dabs the spot where his feet pressed to clear any fire. He knocks and two old ponies come from behind the door. They gasp at the sight of the orange demon. One old mare says, My, it's you, she said in a kind tone. Ghost Rider grunts and lets out a mumble. It's me, Ma. It's Johnny. One of the ponies let out a cry, the other stands in silence. The older stallion flips his hood. Ghost Rider's orange flame around it with his chain still in it. Ghost Rider flips over his hood and stares at his parents. His mother hugs him, so tight that he let out a yelp. The old mare then cried out, Oh, how we've missed you all these years. Ghost Rider replied with, I've missed you too. Want you come in for a cup of tea or maybe a cookie? Both old ponies full of joy beyond belief. They have not seen their son in over 20 years. To see him this moment is a breath taker. Ghost Rider smiles and says, Of course, Ma, of course. The end.